game on Sunday in East London. The two Uniteds, West Ham and Manchester, going head-to-head. Here are the managers, beginning with Julen Lopetegui.
When you become a coach, you live with the pressure always. This is normal, and sometimes it's good too. It's our kind of life. But if you ask me about us, I think that it's true that we don't have the best start, and we don't have the start that we would like to have. But in the same way, we are sure that we are doing steps ahead, and we are going to be able to arrive in the season when the position that we want.
Well, in terms of Lopetegui, it costs a lot of money, and you've had to be patient with it, with him. Will it be worth the wait for United fans?
We have to integrate him. He came late in the window, and then already we had to integrate him during the competitions, and that takes time, and we have to take patience. But as you see, if the quality in that position is not right, it's very difficult for a team to control games. And then I don't even speak about dominating games. So that position needs one who brings the quality all the time, and we have to integrate him now in this team. And as I said, I'm pleased with his performance today. From here on, he can build on. So,
Erik, how do you think the team's responded to that defeat against Tottenham? That's 3 away draws in tough games, and obviously them coming back from behind against Brentford. You've got another tough away game on Sunday. How do you think the team has bounced back from that tough game?
I deny that game. Ignore that game against Spurs because we were downsized to 10 with a 1-0 losing position, but and then the red card was overturned. So I totally ignore that game. That is not a fair assessment to the team to take this into consideration. Because we didn't have the chance to bounce back. But you see, this team is resilient. This team is determined, as you said, on Brentford. But in the two tough away games now in Europe, Porto, and today again, this team has character, and this team showed fighting spirit and determination to win games.
I understand what you mean, but that game, if you had won that game against Tottenham, people would be looking at this period and thinking Manchester United have done really well. But because you lost that game, it's Man United have not won that many games. They've drawn a lot of games. That's why I'm trying to get your feeling about how the club bounced back.
But I tried to explain it was not fair to assess the team because there was a send-off from one of our best players, our captain, and it was overturned. Everyone agreed it was not a right decision. So it was injustice. And there's also injustice to assess the team on that performance against Spurs. Of course, it was a tough first half, but also in that period, I remember some very good chances. And the team didn't get the time to bounce back from that position, 1-0 losing position. And this team, and that is what I try also to explain, is resilient to bounce back between games, but also in games.
Paul.
Erik, I remember after the Bayern Munich game away at the start of last season, you said you were going to look into the amount of injuries that you were getting. Obviously that troubled you for the rest of the season. Obviously this season, again, injuries are mounting up. You look at 6, 7, 8, 9 players out. Can you put your finger on why that is, that you're still getting this amount of injuries?
Yeah, that holds us back in our levels and also in our position in the league, because when you don't have the players available, you can't line up the best team, and that is what holding us back in this moment. And we need more players often available, and then we have to work all together on this point, and that is the players, the coaching staff, all the other staff. We have to do better to be more, to getting more available players, because we know when we have them, we are really a tough team to play. And when we have them, we can be really successful. That is what we have showed over the last couple of months.
Last one from Simon.
Erik, I just wanted to ask about Anthony. It looked a horrible situation going off the stretcher. What happened there, and do you have any idea?
I haven't seen it, but it's only then I have to tell you from out of the second hand. So from the doctor and the physio who told me what they saw. So first I have to see the video before I can give comment on this.
Okay,
I don't know, but
thank you.
Need more weeks, says Erik ten Hag. They've had a Champions League point since that comeback win against Brentford last weekend. Can you see any signs that your former club are taking any steps forward here?
Not visually, through their performances. I don't know what it is with United, but I just can't see them progressing at the moment. They've got some really good individual talented footballers, but they're not putting it together. Their big players aren't performing. There's performances in Marcus Rashford. I want to see more from him. I want to see him smiling again and enjoying his football. Bruno, he'll be back as well, but I just feel that there's so much more. And Erik ten Hag, he's trying to do what he's trying to do on the training pitch. Is he getting it across in the right way? Are the players not wanting to listen? I don't know what's going on, but it just doesn't look like Manchester United.
And if you're playing against them, Wes, currently, have you any fear facing Manchester United?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because obviously on paper, like Dion said, some great individuals, some real talented individuals, but they don't seem to be, working together, as a team, and individuals don't win your games, so as opposition, you think to yourself, okay, they're good, but if we, organise, if we do the right things, if we have a good game plan, we can get out of this team. And I have a sneaky feeling for West Ham. I know they've not been in the best form so far this season, but, playing at home against the United side that are sketchy, hit and miss, I think they should fancy the chances. What's your overall reading of the situation? Do you empathise with Erik ten Hag in a way, with the sort of weekly noise around his position at the moment?
Of course, yeah. I'm in the managers' union here because that's the last thing you want to be hearing. You're waking up to it every single day, that by the time that you get home in the evening time, somebody else has mentioned it to you, and the idea that you try and stick up for yourself, as he has done by saying he's won some trophies. Nobody wants to listen to these particular things. That's the problem. But I'll say this. We know what we're in for when we're managing. You know that if you're in the results business, regardless of performances, whatever the case may be, you always feel as if during the course of the season that you will get performances from it. But you have to win football matches, winning the games, and particularly at Manchester United, you have got to win games. So, listen, he understands all of that. He gets all of that there. But as I said to you, the problem, and I've been there myself, to try and certainly not at this venue, but at this club, when I couldn't win a game to save my life early on, and crowd begging for blood, and you're trying to say, "Oh, just give me a little bit of time," and they're saying, "No, we're not going to give you the time." So those things are madness at the end of the day. So you fight through these things, you fight through them, you try and get through. Let's say a month of decent enough performances, but results to go with it, and then maybe things might change. I understand exactly what the boys are saying, and you know what? Maybe just now and again, maybe you should blame the players. Maybe they might have something to do with it. Maybe the manager might have the team picked perfectly well.
Maybe he's not giving them enough days off. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, absolutely.
You missed the trick there.
I missed the trick. Absolutely. Well, honestly, I know that when Wes gets 3 days off, he goes up to 16 stone.
Harry believes this is El Sakiko, because we've got Julen Lopetegui on one end and Erik ten Hag, who's constantly embroiled with the word sack around his head. Let's talk about West Ham first, because they've had an awful start to the season. Lost 4-1 to Spurs, completely capitulated. Beat Ipswich, but obviously that's Ipswich, no disrespect. Lost 5-1 to Liverpool, 1-1 against Brentford, 3-0 against Chelsea. And I think the problem they're having is they spent a lot of money and people thought they were going to be better than they were.
I did.
You did it. Didn't you back them to finish like 7th or something?
I backed them to finish higher than that. I think it was like 5th or something like that.
That's crazy talk.
But remember, we were doing shows together and I was heaping praise.
Don't put my name in review. I did not say that. If
he's going down, he's taking you with
I'm taking you with me. And that's for calling me the body rather than the brains before the show started. I think that Tim starting deserves a lot of credit in terms of identifying these players and bringing them in. It just hasn't gelled. Todibo next to Kilman doesn't look like it works. And when you talk to Wolves fans, they weren't crying that they lost Max Kilman. They were crying that they didn't replace him, but they were happy they got like 40 million for him. And yeah, the Stratford J-Lo right now, he's struggling. I think this is the game that if they lose against
the Stratford what?
The Stratford J-Lo, Lopetegui. I think if they lose this game, he's in big trouble. We talk about Ten Hag. I think his job is safe. He's talking like a man who's got job security. Whereas you watch Lopetegui on the touchline, he's very agitated, and he is anyway. But he goes into this game without Kudus, his best player. He goes into this game with a defence that's leaking goals, and he goes into this game again with Mikel Antonio starting up front. Where's Nicholas Füllkrug? I know he's injured, but like we have not seen him since signing for West Ham. And when you look at this team, all of a sudden, through a different lens, it's like, where's the goals coming from? Where's the solidity? Where's anything? And I do really worry for Lopetegui. If they lose this game at home, the fans will turn. And I think he may lose his job.
I'm still cracking up at the Stratford J-Lo. Look, I was at one of West Ham games in pre-season, and I remember coming away from that game and thinking they're nowhere near ready. And I think this was the week before the season started. I looked at them and I thought, loads of new players. How do you fit them in? How do you get them all gelled? How do you get them all up to speed quick enough? But I thought by now that you'd start to see signs of improvement, and that improvement has just not happened. They obviously really desperately wanted David Moyes out. Large sections of their support base were calling for his head for a long, long time. He delivered that European trophy. Everybody was delighted, but probably at the same time a little bit wary of what was going to come next, which was David Moyes staying for another year. But now they're not in any better position, and they've gone out and spent money and they've brought in some really talented players. But I question whether Lopetegui is the right man to take them forward. He's not this expansive coach that people think he is. Not all Spanish coaches play that exciting sort of tiki-taka type football. That's something that I think people believe. But the reality is that there's a few that have adapted and play differently, and Lopetegui is one of them. So was this a massive step forward in terms of a managerial appointment? I don't think it was, and I think people are seeing that now. And I'll be surprised, based on what I've seen so far, if they finish in the top half of the table.
Yeah, they're struggling. And I think it is exactly everything you both just said there, kind of like all comes down to these changes. I think West Ham were identifiable in Moyes' period because of how good they were defensively, how good they were on a counter-attack. And that was led by Jared Bowen playing as a 9. Now Antonio's up there, and I really like Antonio, but the problem they've got is they're throwing the ball up to him. He's making it stick, then giving it away. And this back line is now Wan-Bissaka, Todibo, Kilman, and Emerson. It's completely different to last season's back line. And I just think when you come up against Manchester United in this case, and this is a fixture that Manchester United seem to... I always feel like they find themselves in trouble in this game, but sometimes they find a way out. I think West Ham have to go back to going, let's go pragmatic and work from there. Let's sit back. Let's try and soak up pressure, hit them on the counter, and find a way to win. Because United are actually currently 3 games unbeaten, which for them, in the current state, is a phenomenal run.
Well, Erik Ten Hag keeps telling us that the process is working. So
yeah. I mean, to be fair to them, against Brentford, I did see signs of this United that he wants to have. Hold on, brother. Let us finish, and you can have your Ten Hag situation. Against Brentford, there were times where I was going, that's what he wants to try and do. Stop it, Harry. I can't concentrate when you look at me like that.
I'm not saying anything.
They haven't won a game this season after a midweek fixture. At the time of recording, they haven't played Fenerbahce yet, which will happen this evening. Go on. Just say what you want to say, then we can actually concentrate.
I can't believe that we're in a world where Manchester United get praise for beating Brentford at home.
No, we're saying there's signs.
That's the bare minimum that Manchester United should be delivering. When you think about the money that Erik Ten Hag has spent on that team, there is no excuse for him anymore. There is no excuse for Manchester United to be where they are in the table. There is no excuse for the fact that they have zero identity. There is no excuse for any of it. And I look at this game, and yes, it's at West Ham, and West Ham, you know, in the London Stadium, when they do get a big crowd, they can be quite difficult to beat and all the rest of it. But this is just as must win, in my opinion, for Erik Ten Hag as it is for Julen Lopetegui, because he's not in any better position.
Yeah.
In fact, he's in a worse position because he's had longer. The players that he's brought in are all his. Kwaku mentioned that West Ham's recruitment's been guided by someone upstairs, and maybe that's where the problem is. Maybe it doesn't quite fit in with what Julen Lopetegui wants, but Erik Ten Hag has led a lot of this, and he has got to get it right sooner rather than later. And I look at that Man United team that's in front of us here on paper. We don't know what the starting lineup's going to be for sure. but he is so uninspiring.
Yeah.
It's the worst Manchester United team I've seen in my entire life, and I'm confident in saying that.
Through a different lens, this looks like a good team. It does. Through a different lens, this looks like a good team.
Blocked.
It does, though. Like, you look at what the opinion was of Martinez a year and a half ago. You look at what De Ligt has been in his career. You look at how good Mazraoui has been in his career. Onana was once upon a time the Champions League player or goalkeeper of the season. Granted, if you're looking at the midfield that they can play right now with Kobe Mainoo out, it's very uninspiring. How Christian Eriksen is still playing for Manchester United in 2024, I don't know how. Ugarte doesn't look like he's up to it. Casemiro's clearly past it. So midfield's a big area of concern for Manchester United. But then going forward, look at Garnacho. I've got stocks in Garnacho. He always leaves with something. He is very frustrating. When you watch him for 90 minutes, you can understand why Man United fans get very frustrated with him, and you can understand why some Man United fans want Amad Diallo to be playing over Garnacho or Rashford. But Garnacho will give you a goal or assist if he plays 90 minutes, whether that's off the bench or starting from the beginning. If you look at Bruno Fernandes, again, that's where we talked about this a few weeks ago. Can you be a top side with Bruno Fernandes as your main influential creative player? I don't think you can. I think he makes too many bad decisions. And then Marcus Rashford blows hot and cold. So it's Man United team that...
I can't lie, you said see it from a different lens. I just saw it from that lens. None of what you said was inspiring. Everything had a caveat.
Okay, Højlund, Garnacho, when Mainoo's fit, and then you look at Martinez, De Ligt, Mazraoui, Onana. I think they've got some decent players. I don't think the manager's good enough. I don't think he is good enough. And if we believe Jason Wilcox, they've gone with this game model, they've signed players for the club as opposed to the manager, then they should be able to replace Ten Hag, and that new manager should be able to get the best out of those players who are at one point in their career have shown us quality. I think if Martinez had gone to Arsenal, we'd be talking about him as a quality player. There's points in De Ligt's career where he has been a quality player. And Højlund, I think, is a player that is coming into his own. So I think Man United, I think you're being very, very harsh on them, Harry, and I understand it because they've not lived up to expectations, but there is still enough quality there to get the win against West Ham.
I think a lot of these players, I would look at them and say, he's a good squad player. He's a good squad player. Like,
really?
Rasmus Højlund at this stage in his career, do I want to pin all my hopes on him? No. But would I quite like to bring him off the bench and see him develop that way? Yeah, I would. But Man United have decided to go down that route. Garnacho is a moments guy. I'd love to have him in my squad. But as you said, does he give you enough over the course of 90 minutes? Marcus Rashford's completely disappeared. I don't know what's happened to him. I can't put my finger on it. That midfield is as weak as it gets. That Ugarte signing was one there was so much hype around. I watched him play twice, live in the flesh, before he joined Manchester United, and I looked at him and I thought, destroyer. But has he got much else? Not really. And I know that that's maybe why Eriksen gets a game, because on the ball he might be able to produce something, but he hasn't got the legs. It's just so off balance, this team. I know we haven't seen them play in midweek yet. I wouldn't be surprised if they went and got beaten comfortably away from home. And then you're talking about Erik Ten Hag again.
Fenerbahce 6-0.
Yeah, maybe they do, but again, it's Manchester United. They should beat Fenerbahce.
Yeah.
So,
but what you just said there is two sides of a completely different coin that you're like rating United from. You're saying United should beat Fenerbahce because they're Manchester United. At the same time, you're saying Manchester United, this 11 isn't good enough.
No,
you
but
can't have both.
No, I'm demonstrating the point that Manchester United are so far off of where they're supposed to be as a football club. And I look at some of the other football clubs that fell off, right? There was a period where Liverpool weren't at the top of the game. There was an explanation for that. There was bad ownership. There was a lack of investment. All I ever hear about Manchester United is their ownership and how bad it's been. Ineos have come in supposedly to fix the whole football club. Nothing has improved. The recruitment is just as mediocre as it was before they came in. They've not got the minerals, for want of a better term, to part ways with a manager that clearly isn't up to speed. And the whole standard at Manchester United is just in the gutter, and there's no explanation for it because they go and they spend. It's not like other clubs that have been through these periods where other factors have prevented them building the squad required. Erik Ten Hag has spent tons and tons and tons of money, and they should be beating Fenerbahce because they're Manchester United, and that's the standard. The fact that we're looking at that and saying that they might not, or I'm saying that they might not, says everything about where they are today.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was your West Ham Manchester United preview. Score prediction, Craig.
Such a tough one to call. I think Man United go on the road, and the final nail in the coffin for Stratford J-Lo. I think Man United win this game 2-0.
I want him to stay just so more people can catch on to that name.
I'm going to go for I fancy West Ham to get their lift-off result. West Ham 1, Manchester United 0.
I think 2-2. Both of these teams can't defend. I think it will be messy goals, loads of like horror chances and horror misses as well. Let us know in the comments what you think's going to happen.
Stories surrounding Erik ten Hag. United chase yet more managers. Mark is the headline. It's the story that just won't go away. The Erik ten Hag saga. Is he going? Is he not going? Now it's all about who's being lined up.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable, really, that this is going to happen. I think all the best-run football clubs have an idea in their mind who will come in if the manager has to be replaced. And, the only way that Erik ten Hag can stop this is by winning games. And, they've won 1 in 7 right now. United are bottom half of the Premier League. They've made a terrible start to the season. They haven't won a game in the Europa League yet. So I don't think he can complain that United are possibly looking at other managers. It's just the nature of the game. And I think, some fans might be a bit uneasy about it, but, you look at all the big clubs that have changed managers over the years. Mikel Arteta at Arsenal. I remember Roberto Mancini coming in at Man City when Mark Hughes was basically sacked on the touchline. It happens, managers are lined up long before the new manager or the current manager is removed. So I'm not surprised. And I think Erik ten Hag has got to, every game he goes into now, he has to win. And West Ham away on Sunday is a very big game because obviously West Ham are in a very difficult situation right now. It's a game that United have struggled with over the years. And if United don't win at West Ham, then, the pressure will mount. So United have to start doing due diligence on people that might come in and replace them. Yeah, Dave, what's your take on this? You're in Istanbul watching the Fenerbahce game. They were second best, I think it's fair to say. An inevitability about these names that are being lined up?
Yeah, I just sort of find myself feeling increasingly sorry for Erik ten Hag, to be honest with you. I mean, the guy seems to be out of his depth. I mean, press conferences shouldn't matter too much. They probably matter more than people think they are, the way managers are with the media. We had 2 days of listening to Jose Mourinho and Erik ten Hag. I'm not saying Mourinho is the man to take over again at United. And I know he's, tactically speaking, in many ways, something, a thing of the past. But when you listen to the way Mourinho can, dominate an audience and make, get his points across, he's amusing, he's entertaining, he's also very feisty. He is a great front man for a club. That's one thing that Ten Hag has never had and never will have. And a club as big as Manchester United, that is an important aspect of it. That's just something I've observed these last couple of days. You've had chalk and cheese listening to Mourinho and Ten Hag. Everything that Mark said, I agree with. United, it's not been good enough. They made the wrong decision. I understand why they made it, having beaten City in the cup final. It turned out to be wrong, and it's been pretty obvious for the last couple of ever since the first couple of games of the season. It's been obvious that they made the wrong decision. And of course, they're going to be looking behind the scenes at other managers. Yeah, absolutely. Mark, Dave mentions there that he's kind of the way he carries himself at press conferences. I mean, you're saying at ESPN, I deny, ignore 3-0 Spurs defeat. Is he helping himself? I mean, he's basically saying that the Bruno Fernandes red card cost them that game. It subsequently was rescinded, so I don't count that. But they were getting battered before that sending off. Absolutely. I mean, Spurs could have been 3-0 up by the time Bruno Fernandes was sent off. So that is a strange thing to say, and it doesn't help him. And he does say a lot of things in press conferences that don't help him. He's very critical and very blunt about players. I think too much at times. I think, we all want managers to be honest, but I think sometimes he says things that don't really tally with what you're seeing on the pitch. I was in Porto recently when he took Marcus Rashford off at half-time, and he explained that he just wanted to rotate him. Well, Marcus Rashford has scored and set a goal up. He had a great game, and he was taking him off to rest him for a game the following week. And it's like, well, you've got to play for here and now. And some of the things he says don't help him. And I think, yes, I know that United have at times tried to urge him to be a little less heavy-handed in press conferences and maybe kind of improve his English a little bit. I mean, listen, he speaks English better than I speak any other language, so I can't complain at that. But still, he's not a great communicator. And I think at times he's digging holes for himself that he can't get out of. So, yeah, his press conferences are difficult to endure at times. He doesn't help himself.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the current situation at Manchester United and the future of Erik ten Hag. Rumours are swirling, and it looks like the club is quietly exploring other managerial options. So, let's break it down. Recent reports suggest that Manchester United's hierarchy, led by Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Ineos team, have been sounding out potential replacements for ten Hag. This comes after a tumultuous season where he managed to secure 2 domestic trophies but still faces scrutiny over his position. Names like Xavi Hernandez, Thomas Frank, Ruben Amorim, and Edin Terzic are reportedly on the radar. While this doesn't mean Ten Hag is on his way out just yet, it certainly raises eyebrows about his future. In response to the speculation, Ten Hag has dismissed it as fairy tales and lies. Some see this as a show of confidence in his role, while others argue it reflects a certain naivety, especially considering the betrayal he faced just 6 months ago. Even with new executives like Omar Barada and Dan Ashworth claiming they weren't involved until July, it's hard to believe they were completely unaware of discussions undermining Ten Hag. This is a precarious situation for any manager, especially at a club as prestigious as Manchester United. Remember last season? There were whispers that his final home game against Newcastle could be his last. But thanks to a thrilling victory against Manchester City in the FA Cup final, he managed to cling on to his job. Ten Hag has pointed to his successes as a Shield 2 domestic cups amidst a £600 million transfer investment. He recently emphasised patience, stating, "You don't win trophies in autumn or winter, you win them in April and May." But let's be real, while you might not win trophies now, you can certainly lose your job. Right now, with United struggling in the bottom half of both the Premier League and Europa League, Ten Hag's position is under threat. It's that time of year commonly known as sacking season when managers are particularly vulnerable. Despite the pressure, many fans still back him, and there's a strong desire within the club for him to succeed. But after narrowly escaping the axe last summer, a poor start to this season has put him right back in the spotlight. So what do you think? Can Ten Hag turn things around once again? Or are we witnessing the beginning of the end for him at Manchester United? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on all things football.